Let's go to London now and catch up with Sophie Elsworth, the News Corp Europe correspondent. She joins us live from the UK capital. Great to talk to you, Sophie. Outside the BBC, I was struck by a couple of stories emanating from the BBC lately. They could almost be carbon copies of stories that we've run here in Australia about the ABC in recent years. One of them with the new chair of the BBC saying they need to get a broader spectrum of people employed by the BBC, fewer toffs and more people from sort of mainstream or working class England. Tell us about that.
Really interesting, Chris. The new chair did an interview with the Times of London, and he basically said that the BBC needs to make a few serious changes. And one of those, which you'll be very interested, Chris, is that there needs to be more diversity of thought. He said they need to own their mistakes. When they stuff up, they need to call this out. And they've actually, just behind me, you can see there's bollards and some sheeting there. Yep. They've actually had to put that up in the last week or so. They've had so many people down here, Chris, protesting because they ran a documentary that had the son of a Hamas minister narrating that documentary. And that's now led to a scandal that's engulfed the BBC. So this is bad press for the BBC, and how this documentary aired, no one, is coming up clean on how this actually happened. So they've launched an investigation. But the new chair is saying there must be many changes at the BBC. Yeah,
strong parallels with the ABC, of course. Lack of diversity of thought in the organisation, green left agenda, anti-Israel agenda, as you alluded to with that documentary. But does the new chair, is he talking about diversity of thought? I mean, because we all often hear we need more women, we need more migrants, more people of various sexual backgrounds or whatever. Sure, all well and good. That sort of diversity shouldn't really matter. What they need, surely, is a diversity of philosophy, of outlook, of ideas.
Well, absolutely. He has said that. He said there needs to be more diversity of thought, not just box ticking what gender you are, what ethnicity. And so that is something that I think perhaps the ABC might want to pay attention to.
Absolutely.
That they need more diversity of thought, Chris. And this is something you and I have been talking about for years now, and that the ABC is constantly called out for lacking this diversity of thought inside the bubble that is the ABC.
Yeah, interesting message there actually for Hugh Marks, the former Channel 9 boss who takes over at the ABC today as the new managing director. But the BBC also reports that they're paying people who are hired because of diversity quotas, they get extra pay because of that. How does that work?
Well, that's right. There was a report here in London on the weekend that if you're from certain groups, LGBT or female, Chris, so good news for people like myself, you get paid more. Now, I think a lot of people will question this. Shouldn't it come back to who is best for the job, not what box they tick? So this is another report that came out on the weekend in their annual report, which showed that people from these groups are getting paid, in some cases, up to 15% more, Chris.
Good Lord. Now, just quickly, we haven't got much time, but you've been keeping tabs on the Pope. What's the latest on his health?
Well, Chris, he's still in Gemelli Hospital in Rome. He's in a stable condition. He has started eating solid foods, but he's now entering his 4th week in hospital. He's still receiving treatment for bronchitis. So he is showing a little bit of signs that he's improving, but his condition, the Vatican has said, still remains complex. So he is not out of the woods yet, Chris.
Thanks, Sophie. Appreciate it.